Hey guys, what's up? It's Physics here once again. Before we get into today's build diary video, I just want to say thanks a bunch for all the kind words everybody left me in regards to the Earthshatter guide video. Was a bunch of work, but it seemed to have helped a decent amount of people and everyone seems pretty happy with it, so I'm glad it met everyone's expectations. Thanks a bunch for all the support and everything. You guys are awesome. I just wanted to say that at the beginning of the video. So, what are we playing now? Okay, so just as a disclaimer, the Detonate Dead Slinger is not like completely out of commission. I'm still using her for farming certain things, still doing certain stuff on her. We'll probably also do like more Maven invites, like the hidden and stuff like that, and then also might just like using her for certain things, especially like Scourge map farming for farming Glorious Vanity and stuff like that. It would be easiest on her, so she's not completely like dead. Like I'm not cannibalizing the character because I hate cannibalizing just builds, you know, taking all the gear and everything and just shoving it on other characters. It's boring. But yeah, we're on to new pastures, I guess. So by a landslide, the Wintertide Occultist won the build diary vote by quite a bit. So this is at the end of day one. There's not a whole lot like of progress made here. We got to maps, we did a few maps, and that was pretty much the end of it. I ended the stream because I spent so long trying to POB something for this character that worked. If you don't know, there's not a whole lot of people playing Wintertide brand on the HCSSF ladder. There wasn't a lot to refer to. Outside of one player, I'm sure if any of you guys are remotely familiar with the HCSSF ladder, you will know Otter. Otter always plays Cold Dot. Like the guy literally lives and breathes Cold Dot. I can't remember a time that you didn't look at like who was playing Vortex, and Otter was always at the top of the list. The dude is like, he's the Cold Dot aficionado for HCSSF. And he was playing like an Elementalist, you know, full armor, with determination. He went, what's that one node? Not Eternal Youth. Iron Will, the one that gives strength bonus, applies to spell damage as well. Is a cool build, but it's like I've already gone armor. Like I've gone armor on the Inquisitor, went armor on the Berserker, obviously. Like I wanted to try something different. Originally, I wanted to go for like CI, but the thing with CI is outside of some of the weird stuff, there's no flat ES on the tree anymore except for a node up here, and they took away the cluster jewels. Like how you would use the small cluster jewels. I can't remember the name of them. That just gave tons of flat. So while yes, most bases in the game that had ES now have more ES, it really feels like a net loss in overall energy shield. I could be wrong here, but when I was theory crafting the build and even looking at the ladder, most people that were CI were sitting around 9 to 10k ES, which is lower than in the past, especially like with stacking all of the small cluster jewels that added ES. Like seeing a CI build with 9k ES at like level 99 or level 100 is a little like, you know, it's kind of like, it's a little low. Either way, that's not ultimately, I did want to go CI, but that's ultimately not what influenced my decision not to. What did is that if I go CI, I can't take Profane Bloom. And if I'm playing an Occultist, I'm taking Profane Bloom, okay? So, and I wanted to do something different from what I've seen everyone else doing. So I tried to make a hybrid, and the build is like, it's tight on passive points, and I'm still trying to figure this out. So it's an experimental process, right? But I didn't want to just copy Otter. I wanted to do something kind of a little bit more unique. So we're doing an evasion-based Occultist, kind of like what the Poisonous Concoction Zoomer boys are doing. Go straight for evasion, lots of evasion, and taking Mage Bane for the spell suppression and getting max spell suppression. Right now, my spell suppression is 58%, which is not accurate. Something there. It's, I believe 88% while mapping. I don't know what I did, but it was at 88% when I checked it last. It's because I changed my boots. I changed the Veritani boots. I won't go into that. Anyway, so trying to get max spell suppression, ideally. I don't really care if it's not max. Ideally, it will be max, but that's, Mage Bane is just like a free node to take to get like some additional, like, it's like, spell suppression feels like old glancing blows in a way to me. But yeah, I haven't gotten the chance to like play around with like a Dex evasion build at all. Like I haven't spent any time on the right side of the tree really. So I'm just kind of like feeling things out, seeing how it, seeing how it plays. It felt really awkward because the problem Wintertide brand has always had is like you need to scale duration nodes, you need to scale brand nodes, but you still want to scale cold dot nodes and you still want to, take defenses. So it's always been like, take a Vortex, Cold Snap, Cold Dot tree, and then just add an additional 20 to 25 passives you need to spend to make it function. Which is in the past, why no one really played Wintertide, is because it takes a lot more investment for the same or worse payoff. But with the changes and putting Holy Conquest on the tree, it makes it a lot more SSF friendly to play, so we're playing it. So I had to go over and get Runebinder and Runesmith, and then up here for brand equity. And then I also took Acrimony, and then obviously pathing through Cruel Preparation to get to Cruel Equity, and then, or Brand Equity rather, and then pathing completely on the right hand of the tree. So the next thing we're going for right now is Ghost Stance, Trickster Ascendancy on the tree for free. Crazy, awesome, mega OP. But basically the character is going to be heavily evasion focused, with a little bit of hybrid ES in there, utilizing Ghost Shrouds. And on the PoB, it looked pretty nice. Like endgame, it was like 24 to 25k evasion, like 7,500 life with like around 2 to 2,500 ES. It looked pretty neat with 100% spell suppression. It's just early on the character's a little awkward because like early on you need a path down at least to Revenge of the Hunted so you can get an evasion mastery and take the Grace mana reservation efficiency. And then you also need the brand nodes over on this side, but you also need to grab Influence and Whispers of Doom, again, for mana reservation efficiency purposes. It's like very hard because you need stuff all over the tree to make it work. Leveling is like, I had no problems leveling though. At some points the damage was like a little low, but it's cold dot, everything's chilled, nothing's moving, you're not at any risk. It's just things die a little slow. I think the overall DPS of the build right now is like around 150k, but I'll run through a map. I'll let you guys see the map, and then I'll do like a quick rundown of the gear and stuff. The character is a little squishy at this point. I'm going to lower the volume a little bit because I don't know how loud the Profane Bloom explosions are going to be. One of the big concerns I have with the build as of now is mana sustain is so hard. And kind of the idea with the build is getting brand recall to the point where the cooldown's low enough. Obviously Vortex on left click, so it just auto places as I run through the map. So when I get to one pack, the Vortex will go down like this and it kills the pack, right? And then by the time I get to the next pack, I just have to use a brand recall and that will clear that pack, right? And then it's kind of like a 1-2, 1-2 every other pack, right? So that's brand recall, and then that's the Vortex, and then that's the brand recall, and then the Vortex, and then that's kind of like the play style that I kind of had in my mind. And then this works really well with an Occultist because Profane Bloom will clear all those stragglers you see, whereas normally, there would be people left behind. So like the trade-off here is if you go Elementalist, you get like 60% increase AoE, and you have a little bit more freedom on the tree since you get to go armor and you don't have to like path all the way down into the evasion nodes. So you can also get the AoE on the tree, which means if you're going Elementalist, you'll get like massive AoEs. Whereas if you go Occultist, you're going to be getting, Profane Bloom, you get explosions, right? So yeah, the idea is hopefully that the build doesn't really need to stop that much, if at all. This is just a random tier 2 map, Awakening level 3. It's like whatever. The character just got to maps. I ended up farming Blood Aqueducts after getting to maps for a while, just because I just really wanted passive points, and that was faster than mapping, like in terms of damage and stuff. My Wintertide brand is only like level 16. Most of my gyms are still really low level, stuff like that. Realistically, farming Blood Aqueducts or the Harbor Bridge in Act 8 would probably have been the best XP, but I just could not be asked to do that anymore. There's something in me that snapped about a year or two ago, and I just could not farm Blood Aqueducts for long amounts of time anymore unless I needed a Tabula. But thankfully, GGG, with all the mana reservation changes, tabulas are now a lot less desirable. Not that I would really use them that often in HCSSF. It depends. I also have no Corrupting Blood Jewel and no Flask rolled for it because I'm out of alterations. And I didn't want to yoink stuff off my other characters. So if I get hit with CB, I may have to log if I can't sustain the instant life blast to just out heal it. Just a forewarning. But yeah, the build's, it's okay. The build damage is a little, the boss damage rather is a little bit on the low side, but you know, it's cold dot. It takes a little bit time to scale up, especially on Occultist. I've not done Uber Lab or anything yet, obviously, but yeah, we're full evasion, running Grace, Temp Chains, and Enfeeble on my Blasphemy currently. And my plan is I have a trigger wand right now with Frostbomb, Frostbite, and waiting for the golems to explode. Frostbite and Cold Snap. There you go. There's a map clear. So it's like, it's okay. You know, it's all right. It's all right. It's definitely, it's a little bit different compared to like Vortex Cold Snap. Because as you know, Cold Snap, you have to like stop more throughout the map. Because you'll run a little bit and then you have to Cold Snap over there and you Cold Snap over there. And then you run a little bit. But then you get Vol Cold Snap and then you just run. And it's like RF with Profane Bloom and it's really fun. And then it falls off and then you're kind of like, it's just Vol Cold Snap waiting room is kind of how normal Cold Dot feels to me. So this build's a little bit different. It's more like a middle ground is what it feels like right now. It could end up being faster once I actually have some gear and stuff. But like, you know, Cold Snap Vortex feels like a little bit slower. But then when you get the Vol Cold Snap, you just zoom for a few seconds before it falls off. And this one's just kind of like very consistent. You're just always running through. That blows up a pack. Then the brand blows up a pack. And then Vortex blows up a pack. And then the brand blows up a pack. And it's just very ba-dup, 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 like rhythmic, I may say. So, yeah, we'll get into the gear and the goals and whatnot. So, I had this idea because obviously I can't run a triple blasphemy because I'm using Grace. And mana sustain on this build has been the #1 concern for me. And I don't have enough passive nodes. I don't have the wiggle room to take like mana nodes to help for regen. Which means I may end up just having to use a Eternal Enduring Mana Flask, which is okay, I guess. I would have really liked to have used like a Chalice for mapping and stuff like that. Another thing also is I don't have any chromes. Like I blew everything the other day on a bunch of like gear, like trying to 6-link stuff and craft stuff and all sorts of things. And so I'm like pretty broke on a lot of stuff. Like I have like 50 regals and stuff like that, but that's not going to help me with, you know, anything I'm doing right now. But when I do get the jewelers and the chromes, I will probably end up using worm signs on this character as well. I've got like 5 pairs of them now, which is hilarious because I couldn't drop any at league start. But yeah, the rampage will just help me like zoom, get the XP down faster to get the gym levels up because this build really needs levels. It really needs gym levels to shine. So the gear right now, super crusty gear. We're using a skull head. This shield's actually all right. I hit this in 1 alchemy orb. I just randomly alched this. It was in my stash and this is what it hit. So we got 20% chance to suppress spell damage, 79 life, 16 all res, 36 lightning res, 1% increased damage per 1% to block attack damage, which as you see at the top is 25%. I don't have any on the tree. So 25% increased damage. And then I just put on some extra evasion on the shield. Because the evasion was quite low because the base is a little really solid shield. I haven't even quality yet. I haven't qualityed most of my gear unless it was already qualityed. So these boots are whatever. They're 2 tones, evasion ES hybrid boots. They've got some decent life, a little bit of res. And then I just was really looking for something with, I have better boots in this, but I really wanted something with an open prefix with no move speed craft so I could put on onslaught on kill rather. Until I get my anoint, which I will be also probably anointing, where is it? Graceful Assault on this character, as I have done with most of my characters this league, because this node is just nuts if you like mapping fast. And then the 30% increased evasion rating during Onslaught is also very safe for general mapping. It feels very good. So next up, the belt. This is again like just a whatever budget belt. It's like 70 HP on a leather belt with some resist. Just threw it on. Again, the gloves, like these are like straight out of leveling. Just these are This gear is bad, guys. Okay, this is probably some of the worst gear I've had at the end of day one, but this is also the lowest level character I've had at the end of day one. So, res, a little bit of life. Now, the rings are pretty decent. This is something I had in the stash. Endurance charge on kill, 30 chaos res. Obviously, it's a two-stone ring. And then I have an int roll there, which helps with, you know, ES and things like that a little bit. And then endurance charge on kill, very nice. I do have max endurance charges while running through zones, so it feels quite good. In the other slot, I have a two-stone ring with crafted on life and just a bunch of resistances with a little bit of life regen and mana. It's all right. It's like a decent early game ring. And the amulet slot, I have, this has no life on it. It has no open prefix, but it's like, whatever. I needed cold res really badly. Strength, int, spell damage, max ES, cold res with cold damage leeches life. This is something I've kind of played around the idea with, is like maybe I do use some like cold leech. Like maybe I craft an amulet, because I have Veritania amulets. Maybe I craft a Veritania amulet with a grace mana reservation efficiency. I already have one of those, but I would need to recraft it to make it good. And then I also get a cold leech on it, because like obviously Wintertide brand doesn't hit, but it couldn't help to give myself a little bit of extra sustain. Like if I can just fit it into the build, I don't see a reason why I wouldn't. Like it's not gonna be super good, but just running around, Vortex hits really hard. So basically it'll just be giving me like free life regen and stuff. I've noticed the killer of this build is degens. You don't hit, so it's really hard to get leech outside of Vortex, right? It's really hard to get leech. You don't have a lot of mana sustain. You have ghost shrouds, which will help keep your ES up, but when it comes to life, you get like destroyed by dots. So one thing I've actually debated taking is trying to fit in Lethshade, because take 50% less damage over time if you start taking dot damage recently. That is actually, after playing this build, I can see why this is on the tree, and it seems pretty good on paper. So I may play around and take this. Anyway, next up, we have, I guess I'll go over the wand first. So this is just a lot of spell damage, a little bit of cold damage, and then trigger craft. Nothing crazy, whatever. Last is the chest piece. So it's got a decent life roll, decent resist roll, life is max ES, and it's a 5 link. Can't complain, right? Whatever. So we'll break down the links now. Blasphemy support linked with temp chains and enfeeble. I have brand recall linked to arcane surge and also flame dash. I'm using vortex right now with bone chill support, hypothermia, and controlled destruction. In my triggercraft wand, I have frost bomb, cold snap, and frostbite. In my helmet, I'm using a level 3 immortal call with a level 1 cast when damage taken. Do note that if I continue to use the endurance charge on kill ring, I need to be using like as high a level as I can of the cast and damage taken and immortal call, because otherwise this is going to be proccing like every few seconds, and it's just going to be deleting my endurance charges every single time, and it's like kind of inefficient. So if you are using endurance charges, don't use low level immortal call and cast and damage taken, just as a heads up. It's just what I'm running right now because I just haven't really decided the gear that I'm going to be sticking to long term. Next up, we're running a low level vitality. I do have a mastery on the tree for reduced reservation. I don't know, like realistically endgame, if I can fit this into the build. This takes like a level 3 vitality with a mastery, takes like no mana right now. I wish I was using a clarity for the longest time, but once I put in the second curse a few levels ago, I just, man, mana sustain is hard with this build. I'm even using, I'll get into it in a second, actually. We'll finish this. And then we're using a grace, you know, whatever, very OP now. Feels very nice to be able to fit this into builds. And then Wintertide brand. So Wintertide brand, this is where I'm going to get into the mana stuff. I have it linked to controlled destruction, hypothermia, and efficacy. And then my last link is inspiration. Why inspiration, you may ask? Obviously the crit does nothing for us, and it's not like the most damage you can get. It's 25% more damage on a support gem, which is like, it's okay. So the biggest reason I'm using this is just for mana sustain, man. It is like ridiculous, like just running, just running around with the vortex. And then when I cast something and the trigger craft pops off, it takes all my mana. Thank you.
I need more
It takes
mana.
all my mana. It's like ridiculous to try to keep mana up on this build, even with the mana flask running the whole time. This build is probably going to be one of those builds that just, you need to have a mana flask. And one thing that may end up happening late game is something similar that I used on my skeleton dark pack character. The skills cost no mana while focus craft. That may be like a reality for bossing with this build, because you, like, Wintertide brands, you scale duration, right? However, like on a boss, they're still gonna tick down in a few seconds and fall off. So you're like spamming Wintertide brand. You're obviously spamming Vortex. An enduring mana flask is not gonna last the full duration of a boss fight. So what you're likely gonna end up looking at, unless I can figure out a way, get some, like, something happens with levels, or I can fit it in with gearing, Elrion crafts and the like, then you're looking at like having to use the, you know, no mana cost while focus craft on the helmet. But yeah, I mean, so far the build's fine. It should do pretty well. It's still like in its like awkward growth stage here, trying to like fill out and get everything that I need. It's again really tight on passive points. But yeah, if you guys have any questions or whatever, feel free to drop them down below. If you made it this far in the video, also let me know down in the comments. And then I'm going to be live on Twitch like right now as this video gets uploaded for the next like 8, 9, 10 hours or whatever. So if you want to like see the build more in action, talk about the build, talk about like the Earthshatter guide or things that I've uploaded in the past, or you have questions about the Volatile Dead Slinger, whatever, you'll find me over there. I'll be live for the next however long. It'll be quite a bit. Working on this build. So yeah, thanks so much. I guess I'll see you guys in the next one. If you liked the video, thumbs it up. If you didn't like it, thumbs it down. Tell me what I can do better. And if you like me, maybe consider subscribing. Other than that, I'm out, guys. Have a good one. Take it easy.